This was the top-of-the-line flagship Google smartphone of days past. Of course, this is broken. So instead, I'm using this. Still a Nexus 5, but not broken yet. However, with the release of the new Pixel line of phones in October of last year, we'll be taking a look back at the old Google exclusives and see how their performance has aged over the last 4 years. Hey guys, it's Wired here, and today we'll be reviewing the Nexus 5, Google's former golden child smartphone. The Nexus 5 was released in 2012, making it enter almost 5 years of age now. However, it's still faring pretty well for day-to-day tasks as well as light gaming. The Nexus 5 has a quad-core Snapdragon 800 processor, an Adreno 330 GPU, 2GB of RAM, and a base model of 16GB of internal storage. Its screen is a 4.95-inch 1080p panel, which can get pretty bright. It has a 2300 mAh battery, which usually lasts me the full day, but this is on low brightness. In terms of screen on time, I usually average 2 to 3 hours per charge, which is enough for what I need it for, but still not the best. When I got my phone, its price on Amazon was $250 Canadian. However, somehow the price has reached $350 now. Surprising, since it's been a year since I had the phone, and so you'd assume the price would lower. The speakers on this phone are bottom firing, which is not ideal, since watching any movie in the horizontal orientations mean it'll likely cover up the entire bottom of this device, speakers included. To add on to that, the speakers don't get very loud and have a very tinny sound. Sound isn't very defined and has this metallic tone to it, which isn't super pleasant to listen to. This hasn't been too much of a problem for me because I use my phone with earbuds almost constantly to listen to music with, but this may be a problem for people who are considering to buy it. Overall, the speakers are just awful and they are definitely not a strong point on this phone. Next, let's move on to the performance. On an average day, apps launch fairly fast and animations are smooth and consistent. However, the bottleneck of 2GB of RAM can be seen occasionally. When I was making this video, I was installing an update on my phone. Once the update finished, I had tried to open Google Music to listen to some songs so I could judge the speakers on the phone. However, the phone started lagging and it took forever for the music to start playing. Animations were choppy and overall it just felt slow and sluggish. However, this is a rare occasion, and usually it runs fine. I'm assuming the update just overstretched the components, so it started to slow itself down to conserve power and keep temps on the lower side. 2GB of RAM also start bottlenecking in intensive games as well. However, I can't completely say how much, as I don't have many games on my phone currently and don't plan on downloading any for the sake of this video or at all. However, I do remember the phone beginning to lag if I played certain games for a decently long period of time without a break. Occasionally, binge watching YouTube videos also heats up the phone, causing it to slow down. The Nexus 5's back camera is a subpar 8-megapixel shooter. It takes decent photos with HDR mode on, but with it off, the photos are not very contrasting and are very bland. I usually just take photos with HDR on because on the bright side, HDR doesn't take too long to take a shot. Another problem I had with the camera is that occasionally the camera would freeze up and refuse to respond. I had no idea why that would happen, and I would have to restart for it to start working properly again. Video quality is fair, not too good but not horrible. In fact, a lot of the videos on this channel were filmed with this camera, so there is some reference to the video quality.
The microphone, on the other hand, isn't great. It works fairly well, but it doesn't sound as good as a standalone microphone.
However, once we move to the front camera, things start getting really messy. With a 2-megapixel shooter, this camera takes extremely poor photos that are often grainy and undetailed. The photos don't have accurate colors and the whole thing is just fairly, well, bad. The video isn't much better, a measly 720p recording option. Essentially, selfies won't be very good with this phone. Next, let's move on to the aesthetics of the device. The Nexus 5 is either a soft touch back finish or a harder, smoother one, depending on the panel you get. My model has a soft touch back panel, which is nice looking and has good grip. This can sometimes be attractive to fingerprints, although I haven't really noticed it. These back panels are not removable, at least they aren't supposed to be, although you can pry them off if you're careful enough. The phone's shape fits into my hand well, with the back curving on the edges, which allows the Nexus 5 to have a slimmer figure. The Nexus 5 rocks a 4.95-inch 1080p IPS display, which combined with the slightly thicker than flagship bezels made it just the right size for one-handed operation with no case, but once I added a case on, I occasionally struggled to grip the phone firmly and reach my hand across the phone. The overly thick chin also added to the problem, because I usually support the bottom of my phone with my pinky, meaning that I can't often reach the top corner of my screen with one hand. The chin is also confusing. While yes, it does make the phone look more balanced, it seems to take up space and doesn't really contribute much other than a centralized LED indicator. I wish Nexus either slimmed down that space or added hardware capacitive buttons there, but it's not too big of a problem. Now let's move on to the display. As mentioned a few times prior, the Nexus sports a 4.95-inch 1080p IPS display, as should be expected on most smartphones nowadays. The contrast is good, the colors are sharp and fairly vibrant, and the viewing angles are what you'd expect from an IPS display. From any reasonable angle the colors are good, but they start getting a bit washed out once you start viewing the phone near parallel angles. Videos play well and everything is good. Not great, but good. Finally, let's take a look at the software, or in this case, the lack thereof. Now, this isn't a bad thing. Nexus comes with all Google apps as well as the Google Now launcher and completely stock Android, and let me tell you, it's fantastic. Everything in the UI runs smooth, and even the Google Now launcher is fairly decent. Of course, because I enjoy customization on all my devices, I installed Nova Launcher with a black and white icon pack and wallpaper theme. Animations are smooth and the OS rarely chokes and freezes up while doing tasks. Battery life, however, is, to put it simply, not very good. With the Nexus, I usually get 2 to 3 hours of screen on time. However, if I use the camera a bit too often or play one too many rounds of Doodle Jump, the battery starts to drain a lot quicker. This doesn't matter to me much though, as I don't use my phone too often, so the seemingly small amount of screen on time can actually last me the entire day, if not two. A major issue with this phone, however, is that the power button occasionally jams up. Now the phone that I have in my hand right now isn't actually the Nexus 5 I'd gotten originally. Rather, it was a spare phone that wasn't used by any of my family. My first phone, which sported 32 gigabytes of storage, had gotten its power button jammed, and so did my brother's. Although he managed to fix it just fine, and now he's using an application to turn on and off the screen, without the use of the power button. I expect this has to do with the cases, as I've been using my phone without a case and the power button is still fine, but either way, this is annoying and can cost a lot to repair. Other than that, the Nexus 5 is a solid phone for day-to-day use and light gaming. But with quite a few phones out there that are comparable to this, or even better, I'd say just save a little more money and invest into something like the OnePlus 3T. However, it's really good for a stock Android experience on a budget, and I'm gonna stick with it for a while. Just remember, if you're thinking about getting this phone, you'll need to be wary of the power button, and you should also get an app like Gravity Screen or Smart Wake, or other apps similar to that, which wake your phone without the need of a power button. Overall, the Nexus 5 is a solid 7 out of 10. Not too good, but not shabby. It's a great first smartphone at the moment, although this may soon not be the case in a few years. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, give it a like. And if you hated it, then go ahead and dislike. Wired out. Damn it, power button jam.